This video is called an Ode to the Terrier. Why is that? Because terrier breeds are, in my opinion, such special specimens within the dog world that they deserve a tremendous amount of admiration. And not for being a show dog, no, these little dogs are working dogs, and they combine a very athletic body, but especially the focus of all the good terriers is determination, grit, courage and ability. The ability? Yes, the ability. What kind of ability? The ability to overcome adversity. So, for example, when terriers are being bred, they are being bred to face off with animals below ground. So in the territory of an animal predator, for example a fox, they are bred to duke it out. And some terriers will do that by baying and thereby keeping out of harm's way as much as possible. But other terriers do this by really facing off, so engaging into combat. You've seen this, perhaps even with the terriers that we see today, which have quite a lot of show-bred blood in them, instead of being working bred. Even a Jack Russell, perhaps facing off with a German Shepherd. And the German Shepherd will make mincemeat out of that Jack Russell, but at least he tries. But are all terriers created equal? In my opinion, this is not the case. So, the combat type of terriers that really are going to face off with their adversary, the other predator, being a badger or a fox, especially badger, instead of just baying at it and keeping it busy, those are the terriers that have the biggest amount of ability to overcome problems and still keep going forward. That's clear, right? So, if that is the case, what kind of terriers are the subgroup of elite terriers, so to say, in my consideration? You may argue with me and say that a terrier that keeps a lot more out of harm's way is more elite, because they have a way to deal with a situation and do not take unnecessary harm, and they are still brave. And you might be right, but they are not as brave as those that face off. You must acknowledge that, and that's what I'm talking about. So those terriers that do face off are especially Patterdale terriers, but also working border terriers and Lakeland terriers. And of course there are other terriers that also are really there for the face off, but those are oftentimes terriers that are not suitable for going underground. For example, soft-coated Wheaton and Kerry Blue, when they are of working stock, those dogs are too big to really go on the ground. So their chest circumference doesn't allow them to follow the quarry into their den. So that could be another story. But if you look at the Border Terrier, Lakeland Terrier, and in more particular the Patterdale Terrier, and perhaps even a German Yacht Terrier, which also is an elite terrier that is a little bit more baying, so it carries a little bit less of the attributes of the other three. What makes them? They of course carry terrier dog blood, because they're bred to go to ground, ground. But there is a subversion of terriers that are the bull terriers. And the bull comes from the bulldog, the original bulldog. And the original bulldog resembled more a current day American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, or Staffordshire Bull Terrier, also known as English Staffy, than the current day show bulldog. that's completely incapable. And if you look at these dogs here, you see some resemblance with, for example, working bred Irish Staffordshire Bull Terrier, working bred Staffordshire Bull Terrier, perhaps a little bit of miniature Pit Bull Terrier. It all looks like that. And how come? Because the original terriers that were most fancied also in history carried the part bull. And why is that? The bulldog is extremely courageous, extremely confronting if needed, even if their adversary was so much bigger. The bull is so much bigger than that small bulldog is. And even if they get ripped to shreds, they would still go forward. So in the bull and terrier, what makes them the best? Is the terrier blood or the bull blood? In my opinion, it's the bull blood, but then scaled down in a smaller version. But that's too simple. And why is that too simple? Because bulldogs and bull and terriers for the pit were there in weight classes. And of course, if you bring a lot of power for a limited amount of weight, you get a dog that's very strong for its size. For its size? No, for its weight. Whereas terriers are very strong for their size. And what's the difference? As mentioned before, the chest circumference of a terrier is extremely important to know if it can fit in the burrow or not. Patterdale terriers, for example, are even able to collapse their chest for a while to get down into narrower holes than you could think imaginable. That's one, so they have a flexible chest, which a bull and terrier does not need in the pit, in the fighting contest against each other. And they have something else. For their size, they are extremely dense, these terriers. So they bring a lot of moss in a small size. And not because they are overly bulky like those bullies. They are even, in general, lighter to see. Huh? If you look at this female, for example, an American Pit Bull Terrier female would normally be a little bit heavier. So a heavier head, for example. This male that you see here is little bulldozer, of course. So it depends a little bit on the line, but also there you have a lot more stocky work American Pit Bull Terriers than the dog that you see here. So they might not look as heavy, but they are extremely heavy for the small, diminutive size. Bring maximum power for a small size. So do I love all terriers? If you see a class of dog that I really like, it is a terrier class. But not all terriers are created equal. Some terriers are quite good, and some terriers are excellent. And in my opinion, the terriers with the very short legs, I don't like them that much, because I think that's just not that functional. Also the terriers with the overly shortened back, for example fox terriers, I do not like them that much, because they are bred like that for show purposes, instead of functionality of a longer back, giving more power, more flexibility and more push. This is sufficient for a terrier, but with sufficient paw length it can also overcome obstacles. And that's the thing I like the most in build. But the most important thing is the grit. As you see, the eagerness to go forward despite troubles, overcoming adversities and being very loyal. And the other thing is, the bull blood also makes the terriers more silent. So a pit bull or another bull and terrier, more of a combat dog, does not need to be overly barky. Also a dog that engages with an opponent is not there to bay him out or alert him all the time. No, it's that to go into combat. It's different. And that type of dog makes also a lot easier for your neighbors because they are quite silent, they're not overly barky, they're quite relaxed. So they have like an on and off switch, which is an excellent property to have in a dog. And also the bull blood makes them more musculous. So they have a nice musculature over their body, which is also very pleasing to the eye. Hope you liked this short video. Before I stop, also the bigger terriers that are there to engage, for example soft-coated Wheaten and Kerry Blue, Kerry Bull Blood, and even the working lines are still being combined with Bull Blood to keep them working, to keep them courageous. So that's a funny thing to see. If you look at the working lines of those two breeds, so for the Wheaten, Kerry Blue, you will find a sufficient amount of bull infusion now and then. Hope this video helps. Have a great day.